So today is Memorial Day. In case you don't know what that is, it's an American holiday where we celebrate and remember those who passed away in battle for the country. It's a pretty big day. It signifies in a lot of ways the beginning of summer and several other things. And how fitting for the media, such as outlets like CBR. If you don't know what that stands for, it stands for Comic Book Resources. So how patriotic of them to attack Captain America and call him selfish on Memorial Day. Because what better article to put out for a website like CBR, which regularly attacks fans and calls them toxic and nasty, than to attack Captain America, probably the most patriotic comic book character there is, on Memorial Day. So it kind of lines right up with what, the usual MO is for outlets like this. But it was really stunning to see. So Steve Rogers, Captain America, wasn't a hero for becoming Captain America. He was selfish. While he's Marvel's golden boy, Steve Rogers deciding to be Captain America was based on his own selfish desires. What desires were that? Well, his overwhelming desire to serve his country is, of course, selfish. I really don't get the messaging there. I don't get it. So you're saying his willingness to submit himself to experimental laboratory work? It's an experimental procedure that was never done. He was the first one. That's what made him a super soldier. Okay, so they needed to test it on somebody. Who knows if this was even going to work? There's no way to know if it's going to be extremely painful or even possibly kill him. But that's selfish. That's a terrible thing. He was really, if you think about it, it was probably the most patriotic thing in the Marvel Universe that could ever be done, because he could have lost his life becoming Captain America, but his desire to serve was so strong, he was willing to let himself pretty much be a guinea pig, and it worked out. But of course, this is seen as a selfish act. So it's really just an attack on the day itself in some ways, and to rile people up, which is what CBR loves to do. Let's take a look at some of their reasoning, though. So Captain America is one of those important characters in Marvel history, and without him, many of the great stories of the Marvel Universe would not happen or wouldn't be the same. He is central to the entire framework of Marvel storytelling, and Captain America is emblematic of justice, honesty, and perseverance, making him the ultimate culmination of the American ideal. However, the decision for Steve Rogers to become Captain America, is inherently selfish. So they're setting it up here, saying, hey, he's everything that is the American idea, but he's selfish. In some ways, I'm almost wondering if they're calling all of America selfish, which I'm sure there's some subtext there in that, because of course all of these outlets hate the country that they live in anyway. I don't know why they just don't leave. If you hate it so bad here, there's plenty of places you could go. Anyway, Steve was rejected from the military due to his small stature and health issues, but then his life changes when he is invited to join the Super Soldier program, which is how he becomes Captain America. However, when removing the context of what he would become, the decision is selfish. Rather than contribute in the ways best suited to him, Steve chooses to go under experimental treatments to artificially enhance himself. Steve's choice to become Captain America is rooted in a fetish of hyper-masculine behavior rather than a desire to do good for his country. That's a real strange statement to me. So he wants to be hyper-masculine. So that's the reason why he wanted to become Captain America. That's far from the truth. He was already pretty masculine. Even though he was a wimp, he still never backed down. He always stood his ground. He stood up to anybody, even as a wimp. I would say that's pretty masculine. Okay. Now, of course, they're going to throw that in there. Of course, we're always going to attack masculinity when it comes to these kind of articles. That's what they do. But, Captain America, Steve Rogers, even before he had the treatment and became a super soldier, he was still a tough kid. He still stood up to people. He still did what was right. He just couldn't get into the military because of his body, and he was seen as more of a liability, so they wouldn't let him in. I think that's a terrible way to frame this. So because he wanted to serve his country so bad that he was willing to let people experiment on him, that's seen as hypermasculine and selfish. That's really a strange way to frame this to me. But okay, I don't get that. That's not the reason he chose to go into the program's experiment. But this article wouldn't be a complete piece of work without attacking masculinity. I mean, I'm surprised that the article isn't called why Steve Rogers becoming Captain America is toxic masculinity or something. That would have been a better title for this, to be honest. So we have this one here, More Than a Soldier. This is a bold claim against America's golden boy, yet the context matters. Steve is initially someone unfit to serve in the front lines. It is tough and hurtful, but it is the reality of the situation. If his concern was truly how he could best serve his country, he would accept his station in life and make the most of it. He could have tried becoming a merchant marine, train as an officer, or stay home and help with the production of wartime materials. All of these could contribute to the war like Steve supposedly wanted to do, but that isn't good enough. Steve, in his eyes, has to be on the front lines. Well, it's because it's a comic book. It wouldn't be a very entertaining comic book if he was working in a factory. Now, would it? And there's plenty of people that didn't want to go fight. He wanted to go fight. I think, if anything, the thing they're missing here is his willingness to sacrifice his own body to be able to fight on the front lines. I think that's exactly the kind of person that they would want, and that's exactly one of the reasons that they gave him the serum to begin with. Anybody that's at least seen the Captain America movie knows that's the reason they picked him, the things he was willing to do. Remember that scene where he jumps on the grenade? I don't remember if that was before or after he was given the serum in the movie. But pointless, like, he had all the traits that they wanted. But they're saying that he should have went and become a factory worker. It's pretty stupid and insane to me. It keeps going on. I don't want to read this whole article because it's pretty stupid. But the thing that I wanted to talk about was, it's Memorial Day, so what do we do at CBR? We write a hit piece on Captain America. This is how they think, and it's disgusting. They make some other points here, hey, in Civil War, I think they're mostly talking about the comic book version. This is, kind of similar somewhat to what happened in the movie. They're saying that he, didn't want to change his mind, even though at the end, at least in the comic book run, he recognized that he was losing the argument and surrendered. So he is willing to change his ways a little bit. But the whole article is about him being selfish and all kinds of weird things. It's a very strange article to write, but this is legacy media. We know why they write this stuff. Because, what better way to celebrate America over at CBR.com than to write a hit piece on the most patriotic character in the MCU and in Marvel Comics. So, that's the reasoning behind that. This is why these people aren't in touch with the people of the country. This is why these outlets are losing a lot of their power and are just, like I said in my previous video, flopping like a fish out of water and clinging to life. This does not resonate with any true Marvel Comics fans. And I would imagine most people would see this and feel pretty disgusted, especially given the day. If this wasn't written on Memorial Day, I would still do a video on it, but the context would have been a lot different. But let's not close this video out on something that's completely negative. Let's do some positive. According to Cosmic Book News, who's covering this rumor, apparently Sony is considering bringing Tobey Maguire back for a live-action Spider-Verse movie. I don't know how true this is, but wouldn't it be kind of cool? I would imagine they're going to do more than Tobey Maguire. If this were to be true, I would imagine that, what was his name? Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland would also be in the movie. You would get all of the live-action Spider-Man characters to be in the movie. And probably throw in a couple that no one's ever seen before. You bring in Spider-Man Noir and a few other characters. I wonder how true this is, because you just had the animated version of the film. To leap right into a live-action version of the film would be kind of weird. Apparently, they're saying that Sam Raimi is going to direct it. I don't know how true this is. I think it's really cool if it is true. It comes from a YouTube channel called Lords of the Long Box, according to them. I don't really know anything about them. I just thought it was a cool rumor and thought it would be fun to talk about it because this would effectively give us a nice ending to the Raimi Spider-Man films, which would be kind of cool to have. You know, you'd have an older, more mature Peter Parker. Because Tobey's much older now. It'd be kind of cool to see where he is and working with Tom and stuff. I would really dig that and think it'd be a really cool idea. Sony, is at least talking about something like this, but how much would it cost to bring Tobey and Andrew back? Now, I would imagine, I don't think that Garfield guy is really doing much, but Tobey would probably cost a little bit more. I know he's not doing much either, but this would be a much needed and almost mandatory guy to bring back because this is who everyone would want back to even see a movie like that. Will this happen? I don't know, but it's a cool idea, I gotta say. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you're having a good Memorial Day. Also, give me your thoughts on this. What do you think about this idea? What do you think about them going after Captain America on Memorial Day? What are your thoughts on that? Also, if you would share the video, throw a like up. Make sure you still subscribe. Subscribe if you're new. Hit that notification bell. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace. Also, if you want to help support the channel, check out my Teespring store. There's a link in the description. You can find some merchandise in there that you might want to check out.